When a universe-destroying threat comes along, sometimes being able to punch it ain't the key to winning. Instead, superheroes will be granted massive power boosts, so now they can punch even harder. No, I'm kidding. But I'm Adam Andrews, and this is the top 10 unbelievable superhero upgrades in comic books. Coming in at number 10 is Spider-Man with the powers of the Beyonder. For this point, we are talking about regular old Peter Parker from Spider-Man and Secret Wars number 4, when he temporarily gains the powers of the Beyonder. Before Dr. Doom was granted the Beyonder's powers in Secret Wars, the Beyonder power actually went to 2 others. Once the power left the Beyonder himself, it actually went straight to Wolverine, who absolutely could not handle the power, so he almost immediately bestowed it onto Spider-Man. With this power, Spider-Man turns Doc Ock into plants, obliterates a big group of villains, easily rips apart Ultron, literally stomps on the Molecule Man, and defeats Galactus with his fists. He brings the city from the 32nd century into the modern day, creating New Parker City. He saves Uncle Ben on like 3 separate occasions, but then we learn that this all happened in like 1/1000th of a second before Dr. Doom took the power back for himself, which was the way it was supposed to be. Number 9. Silver Surfer becoming worthy. If you want to see a whole whack of upgraded characters, then I send you to the Thanos Wins arc from writers Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw from Thanos Volume 2. Thanos goes to the end of the universe where he has become King Thanos, and in issue 16, a vengeful Silver Surfer shows up to take both of these versions of Thanos on after spending millions of years becoming the last being worthy of Thor's hammer, taking on a darker look imbued with black matter, calling himself the Fallen One, and gaining control over the Annihilation Wave. He shows up with the Annihilation Wave, hits both versions of the Mad Titan with massive blows, he one-shots a cosmic-powered Ghost Rider, he reverts the Hulk back into Bruce Banner, but somehow still gets defeated by King Thanos, who wields the Twilight Sword of Surtur, and then King Thanos and regular Thanos proceed to viciously bring the Surfer to his end. Now I'm telling you, this story is absolutely bonkers, and to prove that, we will now talk about the number 8 spot, Frank Castle with the power of the Ghost Rider and the Power Cosmic. Coming from the same Thanos comic just a few issues earlier in number 13, this version of Frank Castle comes from the future and he is quite literally insane. He shows up in the most badass way ever, causing a rain of blood before blasting through Thanos' army of Chitauri with hellfire and riding this insane looking space motorcycle. It's quite beautiful, honestly. He then traps Thanos in a chain made of the bones of Sidorak, and using a fraction of the Time Stone, he takes Thanos all the way to the future to meet that King Thanos that we just talked about. This is Frank Castle, who was hit with debris and died during the final stand against Thanos on Earth in an alternate universe. Once Frank made it to Hell, he made a deal with Mephisto to return to Earth for vengeance on the Mad Titan, but when this new Ghost Rider showed back up on Earth, everything was already lost. He was completely alone, and even Mephisto stopped responding eventually. This drove Frank Castle insane. Galactus eventually did show up, and Frank gave Galactus the Earth in exchange for being his herald and gaining the Power Cosmic as well as the Ghost Rider. These two spent hundreds of years together until the day they finally faced Thanos, who defeated Galactus with one fell head-chopping swoop. Frank then became King Thanos' #1 guy. He was such a great character that he even got his own solo series, which you just need to check out. Number 7, Iron Man and Doctor Strange. So, it turns out that Tony Stark is actually a good fit to become the Sorcerer Supreme, as it has happened not just once, but on 2 separate occasions in Marvel Comics. The first time would be in What If issue number 113 from 1998, where Tony and Stephen Strange meet at a party, and after leaving together, Tony is driving when they get into a car crash that ruins the Doctor's hands. This leads Tony on a journey fueled by guilt to try and repair Strange's hands, leading him to the Ancient One and becoming the master of the mystic arts, but also learning how to infuse his tech and armor with magic to create a much more capable hero that is portrayed to Dormammu by Stephen Strange, who becomes almost like Baron Mordo. Now the second time would be an all-new X-Men Annual number 1 from 2014, which showed us Iron Man from Earth TRN 591, who brought together the Avengers to permanently end the threat of Thanos, which resulted in the alien races of the universe, rewarding Earth with technology, making it a utopia, and Tony would start to lean more into his mystical side, becoming the Sorcerer Supreme and being able to solve conflicts without any kind of real fighting, and living youthfully comfortable at 126 years old, which is insane. And then the thumbnail for this list is also an Iron Sorcerer Supreme, but that is actually Stephen Strange with an Iron Man armor from Savage Avengers number 9 called the Iron Mage, and Savage Avengers Volume 1 is a must-read, so you can check that one out for yourself. I'm moving on. Number 6. Hal Jordan and the Spectre. This point also gets to be a bit of a 2-in-1, but this time we aren't looking at alternate universes. After the incredibly infamous destruction of Hal Jordan's home Coast City at the hands of Cyborg, Superman, and Mongol, Hal goes a little bit bonkers with his grief, leading to the Emerald Twilight story. Hal tries to create a hard-light construct of the entirety of Coast City and the people that he knew who perished living in it, using all the charge in his ring that he had to do so. The Guardians of the Universe scolded Hal for irresponsibly using his power for his own personal reasons and demanded he report for discipline. But, the Guardians were the ones who were responsible for Hal not being in Coast City to save it in the first place. So, Hal, all by his lonesome and absolutely insane, tore through 8 of the strongest lanterns, taking their rings. He obliterated Kilowog, snapped the neck of Sinestro, and then he took down all the Guardians, drained the central power battery, and destroyed the Green Lantern Corps, becoming, or being possessed by, Parallax. He became a universal threat, attempting to restart the universe, but was eventually defeated by the heroes and sacrificed himself. But following that, he eventually became the new host for the Spectre, becoming God's vengeance and one of the most powerful entities in DC Comics for a time. Number 5. The Herald of Thunder. In the 2020 volume of Thor, written by Donny Cates, Nick Klein, and Matt Wilson, the god of strength and thunder has finally become the new All-Father of Asgard. Yay! That on its own comes with a whole host of upgrades to his levels of power, but he does lose his arm and his eyes, so potential negatives there. Not too long after his ascension to the throne, Galactus comes in hot to Asgard, but not with the intention of devouring it like you might expect. Instead, the World Devourer is running from the universe-devouring Black Winter. This is the entity that destroyed the previous iteration of the universe and turned Galactus into its herald. So it's kind of a big deal. Galactus is freaked, and he has learned that Thor will be the cause of his own passing, so in order to keep the Allfather close, Thanos turns Thor into the Herald of Thunder, which returns his arm and his eye, grants him with the power cosmic a huge power boost, and gives him one of the most dope looks for Thor I have ever seen. Definitely my favorite. With this power, Thor was able to completely drain Galactus of his power he had gained eating 5 different planets, and drain the power cosmic from the World Devourer. Then he turned Galactus' body into a massive explosion that leveled the Black Winter to nothingness. Number 4. Wally West and the Mobius Chair. Wally West, as I have said a few times, is probably the most powerful person to be the Flash. He has a whole hell of a lot of feats to prove that, but he reached a whole new level when he first sat on the Mobius Chair. This artifact basically makes whoever is sitting in it completely omnipotent, basically meaning they know everything ever. But Wally isn't the first person to sit in the chair. Obviously there is Mobius, who the chair is named after, but during the Darkseid War in the New 52 Justice League, Batman sat in the chair as well, and it was hella cool. But this is more than that. When Wally sits in the chair, it has been imbued with the energy of Dr. Manhattan. After Wally's involvement in the accidental passing of the heroes at Sanctuary, he was recruited to seek redemption. He removed all the invading dark matter from the multiverse, and in an act to save his kids, he sat in the infused Mobius chair. So now, Wally West, possibly the fastest being to ever exist, gained almost limitless knowledge and gained the powers of Dr. Manhattan, who can create life and manipulate molecules. He used the power to help defeat the Batman Who Laughs in the Death Metal event. In at number 3 is King Thor and the Phoenix Force. Yes, we are jumping back to Thor, but this isn't Earth 616 Thor. This Thor comes from the alternate reality of Earth 14412. His past is pretty similar to the 616 version of Thor that we know, even becoming All-Father Thor after the War of the Realms event. But after that event, at some point in time, Thor leaves Asgard and joins Omnipotent City's Interdeity Justice Department, which means he becomes a cosmic god top. That's so cool. Basically, he arrested gods who would go and fight other gods. He would also become a planet at one point, then he had an affair with a frost giant and had a baby half-giant son, who then had 3 daughters, making Thor a grandpappy. He then went back to being Allfather, which is when Loki schemed to cause the complete annihilation of life on Earth, turning Thor into a big old grump. He would eventually help defeat Gore the God Butcher, restore life to Earth, and then all the way at the end of time, he encountered Old Man Logan, who had the Phoenix Force, and in a battle with a ghost-riding, iron-fisted, star-branded Sorcerer Supreme Dr. Doom, Thor gained the Phoenix Force and fought Doom for 99 years before emerging victorious and going into the Forever Sleep. I hope that sounded as absurdly wild as it is, because it's just insane. Number 2. Venom and the King in Black. The King in Black is the cosmic divine ruler of the symbiotes, basically the god of symbiotes. The King in Black is the nexus of the symbiote hive mind. This means that King in Black can telepathically communicate with, dominate, and control all symbiotes in existence. Now previously, and for millions and millions of years, basically forever, the King in Black was an eldritch god of darkness called Null, and he was the one to first create the symbiotes out of the primordial void that existed before the universe was born. Well, he still got his butt kicked by a human. When Null finally attacked Earth, Eddie, Venom, and Eddie's son Dylan were crucial in the fight. The Venom symbiote broke free from Null's control and rebonded to Eddie and a new symbiote Codex, incarnating as a gigantic version of Venom. On top of that, Eddie was resurrected by the god of light, Null's opposite, which transformed him into a cosmically powered version of Venom. Then, Eddie fused Mjolnir and the Silver Surfer's surfboard into a massive, insane battle axe and used it to easily overpower Null and fly him into the core of the sun. He then became the new King in Black. And finally, in at number 1, it's Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman seems to receive some of the most insane power boosts in DC Comics from time to time. Or at least in their Prime continuity, she has been boosted to insane levels 3 separate times. Now for the purposes of time, I'm gonna tell you only about one of them, which marked Wonder Woman. When she was a child, Diana was marked by the goddess Hecate, the goddess of magic and witchcraft. This gave her a fraction of the goddess's powers, which lay dormant until the Witching War arc of Justice League Dark Volume 2, when it was activated by the Upside Down Man. Now with this power, Diana revived everyone who got killed by the arrival and actions of the Upside Down Man, meaning she brought back Constantine, Bobo, and Swamp Thing, who shouldn't be able to be revived, just so that we're on the same level here. Diana could easily rip literal holes in reality, open portals, move entire mountains with a thought, and the whole of reality shook when she took a step. Zatanna said that Wonder Woman's magical power was like anything she had ever seen or felt before. Now eventually this power grew even further, to the point that Diana was able to defeat the Upside Down Man, who is equal and opposite to Hecate in terms of power, and then she set everything back to the way it was supposed to be. And that's all I gotta say about that. And that's all we've got for today, folks. I hope you nerds enjoyed watching. I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd, and I'll catch y'all on the flippy flop. Peace out, nerds.